Then let's pop out the chat. Hello, people. Let me get my windows situated. I need OBS on that side, like that. Corner like that with that. All right. So, ow, 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 ow. I hit my knee. Today is more the same, just more assembly stuff. Managed to slice my thumb open, but it's not too bad, I think. But I wanted to show you a few things before we start. This is that the minimum? Okay. This is the clog that happens on one of my printers. And I really don't understand how that happens, because if you look at it, it looks like it melted. So the heat creep went through the entire heatsink into the filament to make it soft enough to be able to smash it together and then cool down and then clog the hot end. Don't know how that happens. I cleaned it out, changed out the nozzle, but I am still drying some filament before I start using it. Oh, and then what I was doing, a sec here, to swap out a few things on the car. Wanted to show you guys what it was. So here is the original steering knuckle oil seal, and this thing is completely deteriorated. So that was no good. That's probably why the wheel bearing started failing. And then this guy here, let me get some gloves because it's super grody right now. I spent like an hour getting that steering knuckle seal back in, because I couldn't not do it because it was completely disintegrated. But this is the steering wheel bearing hub assembly, whatever you want to call it. But it's not as noticeable here. But you can see that there is some wiggle, and you don't want that. You want a tight bearing. I think this was, judging by the way it was on the, oh, so my nozzle size is 0.04. And they're all set up the same. So I don't know exactly what the issue is, but I assume it's probably just worn parts. And then it's too much back pressure in the hot end with the force of the extruder pushing down. I think that's just like a combination of bad things. But I cleaned it out, and I should be trying it out soon. Yeah, but based on the road performance of the worn wheel bearing, I'm pretty sure the wheel would have fallen off soon. I think I gotta go get an alignment, but yeah, that's for another time. It drives fine right now. If it was a chocolate printer, yes. Or even like the Israelis are doing 3D printed meat. Oops. All right. How's it going, Milo? I would not I would not ingest any of the plastic. I think it's inescapable these days. Pretty soon we'll just be plastic, and then we'll be like that new Cronenberg movie with Viggo Mortensen, where they start eating plastic. So right now, not possible to purchase. I'm trying to get through the all of the orders and making sure everything works for everybody before I do that again, because it's just been like a huge headache. But it will be soon. To be honest, I hadn't considered any of that. Um, I don't know how kindly Canon would look on this. But yeah, I thought it was just an interesting niche thing. And I thought I'd do it. And any legal repercussions from Sony or Canon or Nikon, I'll take it in stride when it comes this way. I apologize for not having a better answer. I don't think anybody cares about me that much to hire a hitman. On the scale of significance, I'm lower than like bacteria, and bacteria are pretty important. Lower than dirt. There we go. We'll say that. All right, we'll have to find something that everybody agrees is the worst. Personal best is maybe like 2 or 3 hours for one. I have one of the videos where I did assembly of it like already done, and it's about or all the post processing was done, so it was just assembly. That was about an hour. With post processing, it's like 2 or 3 hours. Um, so I don't print all at once, um, because I don't think it's as efficient. I think batch processing is it's a little easier on my printers too because there's less like there are less there are fewer path um changes if you print all the same thing on the same printer. Because if I were to print multiple of these, it would you get a lot of stringing more so than what you see on these guys here. So doing batches, I can pop them off, um, and then just put them away, so that I can keep track of how much parts I have. Oh, um, I don't think I'd be able to get the action with a printed all in one. There's certain things that I can't do printing in one piece because the variation between the supports and the actual layer thickness that you want is actually pretty significant if I want everything to interface correctly. So like this is the lock ring flange. It should be one piece, but I need it as two so that I can get perfectly flat surfaces. I have looked at injection molding and casting, but initial investment is like $5,000. I mean, you probably know better than I do, but it's like 5,000 um, just to set up a single injection mold. So the action, this one, is focus, and it's a crude focusing mechanism. You can see it's like the old 35 millimeter cameras. You got the landscape, the two people, headshot, face, and then macro, right? So that's focus. And then got iris or aperture control. This one here. I am using a Game Boy camera. If you want to check it out, can I get it over without breaking things? There it is. It's a 3D printed bracket with an Arca Swiss connector there. And then this holds the HDMI cable, which is an HDMI out Game Boy Advance kit. If I, oh, you know what? I think this zoom lens is a prime lens replacement. If we were to talk about the reverse, the Sigma 18-35 1.8, fantastic lens. It's the new workout trend. It's okay. Uh, so on the original one that I made, the Kodak one, it's a fixed aperture. So yes, on that one. But this one, the variable aperture focus kind of changes. So having that manual control allows you to, get what you want out of it. But on the Kodak disposable one, yes. Wait. On this one, this is the Leica M version. But yeah, on this one, fixed aperture from roughly 1 to infinity. And I've been told people think this is an abomination because Leica M shouldn't be subjected to this kind of quality. They have not tried it. Do you think if we tied the rewards to what's lenticular prints with these? Okay. Appreciate it, Travis. Still looking forward to those videos. Any I guess any like tests? There we go. This is the good one. All right. The other one's trash. Anything promising? Yes. No longer the Kodak. So in my initial run before the Kickstarter, with the original lens, I was just buying them off eBay. I had to make sure that they were relatively modern ones because Kodak changed the lens size 3 times since releasing the original Kodak Funsaver. So first version I think is maybe like 16 millimeters. Next one is like slightly smaller, and then the I want to say 2012, 2013 up. But if you are looking, more than likely, you can check out your local photo development photo lab, and they probably have a bunch of them you can take. Yeah, these are going into the garbage. That one looks pretty bad too. All right. Uh, Ow. Nothing really. I just like making things, and photography seems like a good. Well, photography was a good hobby to have to explore creativity, both in making things and taking photos. Appreciate it, Travis. Hope you're having a good one. I used to longboard, um, but not so much after moving out to Georgia because I can't find a reasonable place to longboard. When I was in when I was in Sacramento, I would occasionally longboard from Sacramento to San Francisco or to Davis, whichever one I felt like. And I used to make them. Uh, yes. Yes, I will. Um, right now it's a case of I bit off a little more than I could chew. So it's just going back to make sure that everything is made before I do it again. Because I don't like doing this. Wait. No. Let's see. Oops. I have to. repair the power cable for the Game Boy. Uh, if I did go full time on this, I'd have to find um, better manufacturing. Right, I couldn't do this myself. So it would go back to what Milo was saying, finding a way to cast or injection mold these things. Um, oh, these guys. Okay. So I do have a print farm. It's only 9, and I actually hate taking care of it. Like cleaning it takes, it's like an entire day, right? So I think I need to break up how I clean everything and service. So I think I need to do like 3 every week so that I can cycle them out appropriately instead of trying to tackle all of it at once. I don't. I how do I say this? Very socially awkward. Um, see, we have a kind of barrier here that's digital, but if I were to go out for camera meets, I'd be that awkward guy sitting in the back by himself, trying to look like I don't want to talk to anybody when I really do want to talk to people. So I have glass beds, and I apply I'm gonna call it a adhesion promoter or a release film. So I have to clean them off, uh, and then I've got to clean out the hot ends. So any adjustment on the hot end, I'll have to do a Z offset calibration so that every time I print subsequently, it'll be correct. Because I mean, it's very minute, right? Like it's tiny change, but um, I do it for peace of mind when I print. And so the way that I have it set up is I run Clipper, and I do preheats every time I do Z offsets. So it's like 30 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes to get everything dialed in per printer, which is why I'm kind of thinking I need to break it up. This is not a one-day event to clear them all out. And then applying the release film is another 15 minutes because I have to heat the bed up to 60 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. Oh, please remind me, if anybody's here at the end, that I need to package the STLs and send those off. And so in total, like 220, and we're at about 200. So I mean, it's about 20 to 30 left that I need to do. That is that was my go-to. Purple's Elmer. This was what I used as a adhesion promoter or release film. But I don't like the residue that it leaves. Hey, no worries. I appreciate the questions. Um, I do have a few ideas. Uh, First being a uh, a slimline geared tripod head, because the most the most I'm sorry. So I have audio monitoring, and it's really throwing off my speech. I have a gear tripod head that I'm interested in designing because a lot of the gear tripod heads out there are very bulky. Um, Mine, if you give me like 2 seconds, I can grab it, like a early proof of concept. All right. So it's based off like a quasi universal joint, but that should give you enough range of motion, right, to keep it level. And in my head, you'd have rings that would like set up in a planetary gear that move beveled gears into a helicoil like worm drive to keep everything relatively stable. But obviously not 3D printed, but 3D printed for proof of concept and like fitment things. And then I'm actually working on the prototype is a precision drill driver, not in a pen form, with like a universal chuck. Low torque, specifically for 3D printing and plastics in general. And then, like, this is just stupid, right? Like, it's something I want to try. But I want to do a tilt shift, a tilt only wiggle lens. And I have the idea, like the mechanism behind the shifting of the lenses in unison. I think it'd be an interesting effect. I'll have to... The thing that really gets me on this one, which is... This is what I wanted to work on initially when I started doing the 3D printing. but I couldn't find a program free that would do gears in a way that I understood. So I have a CAD software now that should allow me to do all of that. So we'll see. So speaking of trying to get this out in a better fashion, what I've learned is that I should bring the original idea to people like Lens Baby or Lomography before actually doing something like this. In my mind, I thought I needed proof that people were interested in it. Oh, yeah. So, if you weren't here for this here, it is, yeah, so this is proof of concept to understand how it works, but it's a geared tripod head that is, in my mind, a slim version of it. It won't have these huge nuts and studs standing out, but in my head, ideally, it's about 100 centimeters by 60. 60, I think, is a reasonable size for the Arca Swiss and also for a tripod head. So, you know, the geared head, you rotate it, and then it adjusts up or down, pitch or yaw, right? Pitch, yaw. But yeah, it should have a rotating ring here that actuates gears. That activates a helicoil on a worm or on a regular spur gear for worm action, which should give it pretty good holding strength and still allowing that freedom of movement so it doesn't lock up on you. But I will have to start designing this. I'll have to find time to start the gears. Yeah, I think these next ideas I will bring to Lomography or Lens Baby before doing like a Kickstarter. I always thought you needed like proof that it was viable or something, I guess. Like people wanted it, but I was wrong. Oh, so like presenting the idea to them so that they can, I guess, take ownership of the idea. And I get that, right? Like it makes sense from I guess like a business perspective. You want entire control over execution, materials, etc., etc. Um, yeah, yeah, essentially. I what I've realized in doing all this is that I'm really more of an ideas person. Um, I'm slowly dying assembling these. So good. Into recycling. Uh, two. So, one of my favorite additions is this brass cleaning station and lubrication for drilling and tapping holes. So, let me show you how it works. Um, Plastics, what I've found is they burn relatively easily when drilling through. So they need to be cooled, like the drill bits need to be cooled and cleaned. So the brass cleans the flutes of the drill, so it dislodges any of the PET G. The water is really just a cooling agent, so that um, the plastic itself stays cool and holds shape. Um, when you go to thread, um, when you go to thread plastic, there's a high chance you're going to burn out the threads, and what you get is an unserviceable um, hole, right? It becomes the size of the tap. And in cleaning and cooling while tapping, you get much better definition in your threads when you cut. So let me drill out these 6 holes here and I'll show you. The tapping. And that's part of why I'm making the drill driver. These so this is my drill and this is my driver. I have 2 of them. I don't want 2, I want 1. So if I can combine the 2, I only have 1 tool to charge and 1 tool to keep track of. And I don't like the battery capacity. They're like 400 milliamps, milliamp hours, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, sure, that's fine. I just don't like having to charge it all the time. All right, so let's tap these threads. So I kept dropping my taps. So I finally bought like 10 of them so that if I break them, production or post-processing time doesn't go down at all. But these have turned out to be very fantastic. They cut so much better. Oops. So modern taps, you don't need to you don't need to start the thread and then back out and then go back in. You could drive it all the way through, but I like, for peace of mind, to start and then drive it through, because I want to make sure that the threads are catching and nothing is burning through. So these are going to be solid. And on the bottom of these things is just like a mouse pad that I hot glued on so that it doesn't move. But this drill tap station has increased post-production, or decreased the amount of time I need on post-processing, because being able to keep it clean and cooled without me having to, you know, like manually clear it with my fingers or like a straight edge, saves so much time. And this piece that I'm working on, this part, you reminded me. Yes, I actually have, I think it's a Instax 8 that I tore the back out of, and I want to make essentially a manual version. Instead of having to have a back that needs like double A's or a 9-volt battery, it'd just be a hand crank. And I've seen somebody do this. there's a Chinese guy. I can't remember where I saw it, but there's a Chinese guy who has a manual Polaroid back, but I don't think it works. I think he's not able to generate um, even enough pressure, right? Because in his video, it's always already developed or already exposed instax, and I think the mechanism has to go at a certain speed, applying a certain amount of pressure to make sure that the developer or whatever the chemicals are spread evenly through. Um, so while it doesn't give me a lot of hope that I can do it, uh, it I am working on it. I have the initial plan was to combine it with an old Kodak Vest Pocket Junior, the old fold-out lens. So I have to refinish the bellows, and then I have to cat out the Instax back for it. And the other thing I was interested in looking at is to see if it's possible to make an instant lenticular print photo. Because if we can get the lenticular lens film on top of um, the Instax sheet, and if the lenses are set at the appropriate distances from each other, shouldn't shouldn't where's my marker? Shouldn't we be able to get instant lenticular print, right? Because we've got like this is the lenticular lens that would go over the Polaroid, right? So they're intaking light at different angles. This is very crude, I'm sorry. But if we had the lenses there, right, wouldn't that work? Or am I too stupid to know that it's not going to work? I'm leaning on it. I'm too stupid to know, but I'm going to try it. So I've got to order some lenticular film. Lenticular prints are if you lived in the 90s and collected trading cards. They're essentially holographics. You know, the ones that you could flip back and forth, and you'd get like one version of something, and then when you flip it the other side, you get another image. I think I'd have to work out like I think there would be a lot of bleeding with light, and I think I'd have to figure something out. So I mainly shoot with my trusty A7 R2. Um, but that's for like work. I'm starting to actually really like the Micro Four Thirds system. It's so small and compact. Like the GH5 that I'm shooting on. Okay, maybe not the GH5, but the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II. Well, sure, not that much smaller. It is much lighter, much more compact. Lenses are smaller. IBIS is great. I'm starting to use it more for just like personal stuff. The main camera is the A7 or 2. Just purely for resolution. I'm working my way to get the A7R4 or that 61 megapixel bump. What are you shooting on? Still a fantastic camera. I was too poor to get the A7 III, so I found a deal on the A7R2. Oh, if we're talking about 35 millimeter. This is my main 35, Pentax ME Super. Super compact, aperture priority. It's fantastic. Um, the the light sensor is still good, or the light meter is still good. So I mean, I trust it enough. If not, I'll use like the Light Me app on the iPhone. But I adapted the Nikon 17 to 35 to the Pentax to get a wide angle zoom because I had this laying around and the autofocus motor is broken, so why not? I think I need to reprint the mount for a better fit, but that is the main 35. These are runner-ups. I like this Sears TLS in my M42 mount. Super clunky, all mechanical. Probably won't fail on me ever. Or trust the old Canon FTB QL. Again, fully mechanical, probably won't fail on me. With Canon FD 40mm. You've never seen this on an FD body. This is a rehoused 40mm EF for my FTB. It focuses as aperture control with stops. Oh, yeah, sorry. Getting off track. This is an early version of, let me close this so it doesn't spill. But this is an early version until I work out a proper back. But it is a shift lens adapter. I use a standard 1024 or 1032 screw to give, what's that? About 10 millimeters of shift for Mamiya 645 lenses to M42. And then it also has vertical horizontal position, right? So I can control perspective using M645 lenses. Then easily just rotate it off. And it's an early version because I need to find a better way of consistently printing this back plate so that it aligns perfectly, so I can get perfect or perpendicular horizontal or vertical shifts. Once I figure that out, it'll be up on the shop to download for free. If you want to shoot me a few bucks, that's cool too. Yeah, I always saw like people adapting things to mirrorless, and then I got into 35 millimeter, and the lack of availability of FD specific things or M42 specific things didn't sit well with me. I'm sure there are. I think 3D printing is kind of just empowering so many photographers um, to make things that they want. It's so great to see. And speaking of early things, I need to finalize the Canon 40 millimeter EF to FD conversion so I can get the parts milled in aluminum or brass. Somebody reached out to me on Reddit to see if he could mill some parts, so I will probably take him up on that because I'd like to see a proper rehousing. Yeah, man, the revival in analog is just, it's so crazy. Like, so I never really thought about it, but I took black and white back in community college in like 2008. And I never really thought about the experience of shooting with film, but I picked it up recently again, and there's such a, I don't want to sound like pretentious or anything, right? But with film, it's like you're preserving a moment in time. I don't. No space for it, which is really a shame. Because if I did, I wouldn't have to rely on other people to do it for me. But Um, yeah, no space for CNC. But for some reason, film feels a little more personal than digital photography. It might just be like a head thing. Um, but yeah, it's like when you develop it, it's like you stole a piece of time, you know? Uh, right now, favorite film stock because of the initial wiggle lens with the Kodak FunSaver. It's Kodak GT 800. It's the disposable film. I've got like 200 rolls that I need to go through, so it's my favorite film stock right now. Uh, so the lenses on the A7, um, for interior like architectural stuff, I have the Laowa 12 millimeter f2.8. It's a fantastic lens. Um, it's a wide field of view with like literally no distortion. And then I have their magic shift converter so that I can control perspective to keep horizontals and verticals straight. So it's a 12 and 17 essentially, and then the the Sigma 20. Oh, right. Sorry. They are off the shelf lenses that I order from an optics company. Uh, so let me show you. They are slightly smaller than the Kodak FunSaver lenses. Um, but they are a 44 millimeter focal length. It's not helping, is it? That's not helping at all. That that's worse. Oh, that's actually I don't even need to do that. Yeah, but yeah. It's a 44 millimeter lens, um, off the shelf, and if I were to do this further, I'd want to contact like a lens, an optics designer, so that we can go through and get much better optics. Um, like ultimately, I want glass optics for maximum quality. but I will have to reach out to them. I have to stop being lazy and reach out to them. I appreciate it. I'm hoping to clear everything out by February or at the end by the end of February. So it's just me getting off my lazy rear end and finishing it up. Then I should have some pre-builts available. Or if you want, lenses only, and then STLs available for your own assembly. Oh, speaking of film, depending on what system you have, I do have the original Kodak version. This is an FD version that I haven't posted yet, but I mean, it's pretty much ready to go. But there's an FD version, there's an EF version, an EFS version, Nikon F version, Nikon F, but not pre-AI. I think there's something like slightly different with those early F models. And then this is the Micro Four Thirty, or I'm sorry, the M42 version. And the lock ring rotates around the body so that you can screw it into the M42. This one is not up yet, just like the FD, but they are ready to go. I'm just dragging my feet on posting them. So if those are if they are mounts that you use, it is available for you there too. That's good. It's good already. I haven't actually checked in. My head has been down on social media for the most part because I'd like to finish all these. I have this Travis actually might have some interesting stuff. Um, but yeah, I haven't been keeping up um, with the folks. I don't know if they'd want to share it with me either, seeing as how I bungled this entire Kickstarter thing with my own like anxiety. So okay, makes me feel a little better. Yikes! Fresh. Oh, and if you guys are interested, this is a self-designed assembly light. It's on a boom arm with dimmable LEDs. It's great. It's fantastic, man. Fantastic. I appreciate the reminder. I appreciate you stopping by too. It makes these things go by a little bit easier. Hope you have a good one. All right. Apologies, give me 1 second. I've got to finish something on the other screen over here. All right. Let's get to it. Let's finish drilling and tapping. Ah. All right, drill tap, drill tap. Where is my riser? I need that. She don't like using that. Do I have a smaller piece of plywood? I do. It's somewhere. It's not in front of me. I guess I'll use it. All right, let's try to get this even as possible. Let's get this over here. Actually, need that. What I'm going to do. It's not needed. Don't cut out power. I really got to rewire the GBA power. Alright, so this should make up for that difference. I'm going to set it down. Not too much wiggle. There we go. All right. Let us go ahead and finish drilling and tapping this part. Yeah, that's good. This actually used to be the part I hated the most because I only had a manual drill, but then I picked up. Now, I'm not promoting them in any way, but Nog Army, they make a pretty good pen drill. It's enough torque to get these holes drilled out, and there's very little run out, so the holes are drilled relatively accurately. I think on the next stream, I should have an early prototype of my own drill driver. And I will be running 18650s instead of these whatever they use in here or in here. I think 18650s have enough milliamps to power for a while, and then it also allows you to hot swap the batteries so that you don't have to worry about you know, batteries being dead, so you can't use it. You have to wait for it to charge. But the 18650s are relatively common. So, okay, two things. They're relatively common, and they are, since they've been around for a while, are relatively stable, right? Most of them have overcharge reduction or some sort of protections for shorting. So, in my head, they make a great candidate for power supply. And these, I'm ashamed to say, are from the days when I would vape. But I don't anymore. But I just kept them around because I figured I'd use them for something. So I'm going to finish tapping this one, and then I'm going to drill out everything else, and then tap everything after that. It's just I want to finish this one up first. And this part here, I think it's one of the longer parts to post-process because there are about 13 holes that I need to drill and tap. I hate glasses. I hate them so much. What I'm doing here is I'm taking off any burrs or any additional buildup to make sure it's flat, because this surface here interfaces with the what I call the aperture clutch, so it needs to be flush so that it can rotate correctly. All right, let's put this aside. So on this revision, I started um, doing through holes on this because I was having some issues with printing. And having through holes just makes everything easier. I think I already drilled this out. Yeah, this one's been drilled out already. Just waiting for a tap. Just set that aside. Can you see that? Next time, to zoom in on that. Okay, I think it'll work on this one. Let's zoom in. Oh, that's not going to help at all. But you can see, oh, already flipped through. There's a very visible color change. Or let's see if you can see it here. Tilt it. No, it's too shallow here. All right, that's not gonna work. Back out. This guy's done. Look at this. So, when I started this Kickstarter, I had recently, maybe 6 months, 6 to 8 months before starting, had done a Kodak Funsaver version. And I had done 60 of them, and it took me about a month to complete. So, in my head, I was like, oh, yeah, easy. I could do this. 2 months, 3 months tops, right? What I failed to consider is that the Kodak Funsaver versions are nowhere near as complex. And they did not require the same amount of post-processing. Well, the same amount of post-processing time, right? There were less parts and it just took less time to post-process and assemble. So I'm sitting here with like 27 to 30 odd parts that need to be post-processed before I can start assembling. And I'm just like, what did I do? What did I get myself into? So I'm here, slowly chugging away to try to make up for the major goof in trusting myself and my own abilities. Because I misjudged the actual time it would take. But, I mean, it's been an anxiety-inducing adventure, I guess. There's just this pit of anxiety that sits like at the in my stomach. You know, it's like if I'm not doing this, then I'm wasting time, you know? It's like Sisyphus, right? I can do so much in the day. At the end of the day, workload just picks back up, like Sisyphus's ball does roll back down after he gets into the top. Oh, I forgot to show you guys. I have purchased a new parts container. It is a wheeled cart that holds all my parts. So they are at um, so they are at um, okay, I will wheel it this way. It's this thing right here. It's got these nice little trays from Harbor Freight. Um, but yeah, it's got nice little trays for organization. So it keeps everything within eyesight and within arm's reach. And it's on wheels, so I can move it around to where I need it to. And then it seconds as a storage for finished lenses that I'm about to send out. All right. Oops. Hey, so I realized I start my sentences pretty much the same. It's so, or I realize, etc., etc. But I pre-ordered a vinyl from a New Zealand uh, artist, Phaser Days, and I'd like to have a different experience with this vinyl. She has her new songs that were on the vinyl on YouTube and Spotify, but I'd like to have an experience like I would, or you would, if you were to purchase albums in the blind, right? Like I figure this is how it was when vinyls were around. Like you'd hear maybe one or two tracks on the radio, and then once you purchase the vinyl or the album, the record, whatever you want to call it, you get to experience the whole package. And I want that. I want to see how that feels. Um, so I'm eagerly awaiting the pressing and delivery of that record. Exceedingly talented artist, I think. I was considering buying the New Radicals album. I don't know. The only songs I do like are "You Get What You Get" or what's the other one? "Someday We'll Know." And then there's so I've been trying to get a hold Fei Wong's Eyes on Me. This is the theme song to Final Fantasy VIII. Well, I wasn't a fan of Final Fantasy VIII. I think it had a great soundtrack. Um, but this 7-inch record is going to cost me like $300 or $400, and I'm not looking to spend that much yet. I should have picked it up earlier when it was still around like 125, but the price has jumped an insane an insane amount on that record. And then I think, what's the other one? I think the other one I've been looking for is Need to Feel Loved by Reflect, Adam K, and Soha Remix. That thing is like another $300 or $400. Again, I like the song. I like the artist. But I don't. I'm so broke. Maybe I will save up and get it at the end of the month as a celebration for having completed the majority of the orders. Oh man. So the entire reason I got into vinyl record this I had to find the limited edition um, Ventura album by Russian Red. Um, Another fantastic indie artist, but this one had like a bag, a box, and some photography that she did. Um, but in trying to find it, so I found it on, I believe, eBay, and it was complete and sealed. So I ordered from the dude, and he was in Spain, right? So the first time it comes, the apparently I guess I was out of town, and they had to send it back. So then I was like, no. And then I contacted the guy. I was like, hey, can you post it up for sale again? He's like, yeah. So I buy it. This time I make sure I'm home for it. And initially I was like, I'm just gonna collect this. I'm gonna put it on a wall or put it on a shelf and not listen to it. But then I got to thinking, that's kind of stupid, right? These things are made to be enjoyed, they're made to be consumed. The finite nature of vinyl or records somehow it enhances the experience of listening to it, right? So I opened it and I listened to it, and it was totally worth it. Yeah. And ever since, I'm not uh, so tied to collecting these things because I do feel that things made to be used should be used. Um, oops. Like with the longboards I made, I think when I stopped making them, when I stopped making them, I gave most of them away. The ones that I didn't sell. The last one I made, I sent it off to I don't know, some rando. Um, but again, I'd rather have it used than sitting and collecting dust. Because I mean, isn't that what life is about? Just enjoying the things that you like? Which does make me kind of sad because right now my longboard is just sitting upstairs in the garage not being used because I cannot find a place to longboard in Atlanta. And there I go again. And so uh I'm looking at boards that I used to make, and I used to think that they were all garbage. You know, like these things suck. But looking at them now, with the benefit of time, not bad. You know, design wise, uh, in terms of construction and finishing, fantastic. You know, it was. I think I was so far in the forest, I could not see the trees at that point, right? I was okay, so I typically compare myself to the people in the same field, right? And it's not fair because I'm nowhere near what they do, right? I'm no land yachts. I'm no Sector 9, no loaded, right? But those are the standards that you have to look up to. That's what you have to achieve, right? You have to be that good if you're making things. I never thought I did well. But I mean, looking at it now, with the separation of time and the separation of ego, they're not bad. You know, they're good. Maybe not great, but good. You know, solid construction again, solid design, solid manufacturing and finishing. But I imagine if I started making them again, it'd be the same thing. It's like these things, garbage. They suck. And I can feel that sense of um, self-deprecation or judging with this lens stuff too. And I'm doing what I can to mitigate those feelings of hate and derision for things that come out of my head, you know? Um, Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, but for the most part, I think I have it, um, I guess, well monitored, not well controlled, right? Because there are some days where I'm just like, what are you doing? You know, you joke, get out of here. Um, that's always something I really do need to work on is, um, you know, just monitoring and um, feeling the emotion that I'm feeling at that point in time, without being overly critical of the situation or of who I am, right? And learning to understand how to deal with it. You know, like these feelings of negativity towards the things that I make are unfounded. But if I don't do it, nobody's going to keep me in check, right? Like that episode of Community where Jeff Winger sees the new therapist and his ego becomes unchecked. And Britta's like, if you don't check yourself, essentially you're going to wreck yourself, right? And he does at the very end, right? I'm very afraid of ego and uh, self-aggrandizing and all that stuff because I don't think it's particularly beneficial for me. And I guess sure a certain amount is, right? And if I had that certain amount, I'd be doing things differently than I am now, right? I wouldn't be so neurotic. Um, but I mean, it's all a journey, and I am kind of enjoying it. Some days not. Um, but making things and kind of talking through my process, it helps. And I think it's slowly getting better. Uh, but definitely making things. I've learned early on um, that making things or drawing or doing things that would offload like the mental weight um, would always help to make me feel better. You know, so like generally, you'll find me working on some stupid shit instead of um, socializing because uh, I only have the capacity for, you know, making stupid shit. I don't know what to do in social situations. I don't know how to deal with it. Um, and that's really my own fault, right? Of which I might take up aim, shoot, develops question of do you go to photo meetups? I might just throw myself in there because this Kickstarter was essentially me throwing myself into the deep end, right? Dealing with anxiety, dealing with unknown, right? Typically, if I get overly anxious or my anxiety is, um, or I get too anxious, I'll typically shut down. Uh, I'll just stop. I'll stop doing things. And while I did have a few of those episodes, because it was overwhelming, um, you know, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And I think I'm slowly gathering the tools to deal with these things. Uh, like I said in the previous stream, you know, I was reading a post on r/videography about how to deal with anxiety as a creative, and it was the top comment was plan everything and stay organized, right? Because those are the only two things that you really have control over. It's what you can do, right? And you can set your expectations so that you know what's needed of you or what's needed of your client, etc. But if you plan and organize, you know where things are, you know when things are supposed to take place, and you can adjust from there. If if you don't do any of that, it's all up in the air. It's all, yeah, it's just out in the ether. There's no control. It's out of control. Um, but yeah, slowly gathering the tools. I might just, I'll find some meetups. I'll make a fool of myself. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll do some photo meetups. Try to find some longboard groups. I don't know. I might have aged out of longboarding. We'll see. Maybe there's some geriatric longboard clubs out here. We'll see. So this is why I am developing that drill driver. My hand is, I don't know, cramping from this motion, right? So like the muscle here, the elbow, it all just kind of hurts or gets sore. And I solved part of it by using the electric drill and the electric driver. It's just that the drill doesn't have reverse, so I can't easily tap. And then the driver only accepts hex bits. So while I have forward and reverse, I have no control over what kind of bits I can use except for hex bolts. Speaking of which, I think I have to charge this. Interesting. Man, it's been a while since I kept up with longboarding stuff. Alright, don't call me a hater, but I question electric longboards, electric skateboards. Isn't the point of longboarding to be physical? Right? Like, here I am looking like some sort of purist. But I always thought, well, my enjoyment from longboarding was always being physical, being out there and interacting with the physical world instead of pressing a button to make me go. I remember when I was longboarding with my buddy, we were in downtown Sac, and we were at some sort of state building. So we were longboarding on the sidewalk. This lady comes out. She's like, "Hey, cut that out. Your wheels are gonna break up the concrete." Like, dude, these wheels are some of the softest, grippiest rubber. You know, they're like 73A durometer. So I mean, hardly gonna do anything to the concrete. Me and said friend would also do garage runs. Like we would hit up Sac State, or I think there was a parking garage on like K Street or something. They were always super fun, man. Gotta get back into it. We'd well shoot, I would. I would drive up to the Rockland area, up north, and I would just I would go into neighborhoods because up in Rockland, Lincoln, Roseville, etc. It's super hilly up there. So I mean, you go to a neighborhood built on like the side of a cliff or a side of a slope, and head up to the top, bomb the hill. It's great. There was a time, one time only, when I longboarded with only sandals, and immediately I ate shit, and I no longer do that. I always tell people not to do that. I have reservations on tennis shoes too, like sneakers. I don't like that wedge. You don't have your foot firmly planted on it, so it's hard to control it. Chucks, Converses, Vans, yeah, for sure. Flat foot shoes or barefoot, either one of those. One thing that I still want to try is tarp surfing, right? So the problem with that is I don't have a lot of friends, so so finding enough people to um, pull the tarp in a way that it emulates a wave, it's a kind of troublesome. Yes, yes, yes. Um, it always looks so fun because I mean you don't have to do anything. Right? You just ride the wave. I think I also have to start getting back into single speed biking. Not fixed gear. Hate fixed gear. But I need to get back into some road biking. I've seen too many close calls, too many accidents with um, fixed gears or fixies, whatever you want to call them, that I don't like it. Because it takes way too much strength to maintain control. I'm very lazy. So I should be packaging STLs this week, tonight, maybe tomorrow. Send them off. Then I've got to send these guys off over here. They should be packed and ready to ship tomorrow. These here, probably by the end of the week or early next week will be shipped off. After which 20 will remain. And I've got to make sure to address fitment issues with folks. I'm pretty sure people's patience has worn thin. And I deserve every bit of backlash regarding this. Like, sometimes I feel like that dog in the burning house, this is fine meme. You know, like, my brain is like, guy, you gotta get to work. But then my body's like, no, this is fine. This is fine. But like these alarm bells are going off my head. Like, guy, you gotta stop being lazy. Right? You gotta stop. You've gotta stop freezing up. You've gotta get to work. And then the other part of it, I think it has to do with the idea, you know, going back to the longboards and things that I make. Right? It's like surely people can see how shit I am, you know, like, and the things that I make, right? And it's like maybe they're not as bad as I think they are, right? Maybe the shadows in my head are lying to me, and the shadows in my head, not like people, right? But in reference to Plato's allegory of the cave, right? You know, maybe I'm misreading them, and I've never been good at reading people, so um, like I think I've just been so self-deprecating for so long that I've turned into that person, and I have to do work to reverse it, because to be a normal person means that you have some level of ego, right? You have to like yourself, right? You have to like yourself. You have to be able to wake up and look in the mirror and say, this guy's not an entire piece of shit, right? So, I mean, there's definitely room for improvement there. But I think, that's just kind of the story of my life in terms of making things. It's like I always think everything I do is shit. And letting go of the idea of the control of what people think is something I need to do. I need to let the idea out there, um, without the expectation that everybody should love it, because that's not the case, right? It's it is an idea, and it is brought into reality, and if you have an opinion, which is essentially what an idea is, you cannot be afraid of a challenging opinion, right? Like I was talking to my uncle, I was like, yeah, I don't have an opinion on a lot of things because, you'd have to defend a position. But I mean, you can't really go through life that way, man, right? Because if I have no position or no opinion on my ideas, then I would never act on them, right? So me putting it out there, I have to accept the negative criticism along with the mediocre criticism, right? It is inescapable, and the sooner I grow a backbone, the sooner we can move on from that. I sure hope nobody's here listening to this. Oh, speaking of community, going back to it, I'm excited for the movie that they're coming out with. I think both Nicole and Donald are coming back. I hope Nicole comes back. Um, but having Troy and Abed in the morning back for the movie would be great. On the topic of Donald Glover, this childish Gambino. bought my first bootleg record. It was Summertime Magic. I did not know these things existed. Um, but it's a 7-inch single play. And in my quest to collect analog mediums, I picked up a cassette player. And my friend, who enjoys music and who enjoys the fidelity of music, I always joke to him that I've got the highest fidelity with the cassette, which, like, empirically speaking, is incorrect, right? I think cassettes are possibly the worst medium. The most convenient before digital media. I always joke that I'm going to send him podcasts on tape because I want to bring back the old mail order tape from the 90s. But I picked up a Sony Walkman WF-18. It's got an equalizer, some sort of radio. I like it quite a bit. It's not Guardians of the Galaxy or Stranger Things, but it works well. I have plans to modify it so that it runs on a rechargeable. It has Bluetooth and wireless charging. I think all of which are pretty doable. I think there's enough space in the body to do that. So I just need to find a Bluetooth module, and then I can find a simple lithium ion voltage to 3.3 volt output. 3.3, or I can use the LDOs that I have to bring it down to 3 volts even. I've got to stretch the arm. The tapping not making me feel good, especially after I spent Sunday evening wrenching away, right? So this sweater is all messed up now because of working on the car. But working on the car, everything just hurts, right? Like I had to get in the most awkward positions to hammer back in the steering knuckle oil seal. Then once that was done, I had to wait until Monday to go rent a torque wrench that goes up to higher than 173. The one I had is 150. So picked up the torque wrench, made sure all the bolts that I put back torqued down correctly. And then I spent today, was it today? Yeah, it was today. I had to pick up somebody from the airport in the morning. So I spent like 4 hours driving. And everything is held together. And I am confident in the repair. This is how I always am. Like when I had to do the lower and upper control arms on the Jeep, I was always so hesitant to be confident in it. But I drove back and forth from Georgia to Florida like almost every other week after I swapped it out. So I was like, no, that's fine. There's no way this is coming out. I did a fantastic job replacing this. Of which I am looking at possibly lifting it. Because now I know how it drives regularly, right? Back to stock. Um, I have the lower control arm swapped out, the shocks swapped out, so that it's kind of back to baseline factory. Didn't swap out the body mounts or the body bushings, because I actually don't want to deal with the headache that's probably going to come with that. But overall, um, well, I guess I need to swap out the entire front end, right? The sway bars, the bushings, all that good stuff to get it back to stock. But swapping out lower control arms and upper control arms and the shocks brought it back to a pretty controllable at high speed Jeep. I know they talk about white knuckling when you're driving a Jeep, but with those basic things done, it's perfectly fine, right? One-handed, uh, like maintaining 70, no problem. I no different than the GX 460 or 470, you know, with the body on frame, you know, so I think it's time to upgrade suspension. Maybe 32 or 33s, like a inch lift. Try to keep it as stock as possible. Nothing like over the top, right? No cutoff fenders. I do need to address some rust in the body, but it's not too big of an issue for me. Oh, so we are coming to the end of the stream here. I will be packaging the STLs, and then I will also be packaging a couple of lenses. But after I get some dinner, because it is 8 o'clock here and I am very hungry. Um, you know, the other thing that bothers me about Georgia is that you cannot find a proper mission style burrito. And I probably said this on the other streams, right? But I will continue to say it because you cannot find a good burrito. And then on top of that, you've got Chipotle pretending like they're a burrito, or that they're innovating the burrito by introducing the burrito bowl. You're making it harder to eat the burrito. Oh my god, it's bonkers. But yeah, I will be grabbing some dinner, doing some packaging stuff, and then off to bed to start the next day. And then tomorrow, it should be the rest of the post-processing for this stuff here. It should take up the majority of the day. So then I can start on the lower half on Thursday. And if all things go well, should have everything packaged up by Friday or Saturday. And if I do, then I'll probably ship it out Friday or Saturday. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Appreciate you guys interacting. asking questions. Keeps me, engaged. I'll see you guys on Thursday. And on Thursday, I will try to have a proof of concept, or at least a prototype, for the drill driver. I've got the parts, and we still have a few minutes here, so I will show you. So, I moved away from the universal chuck because there is way too much runout and way too much play in the threads. And I think this collet system, while not ideal, is the better of the solution. I don't think it has as much runout as the universal chuck. So if we could focus, this I think is a 500 RPM motor, which I think is the upper level that I should be using on plastics. And then I'll be running a PWM. And then, so I was reading the data sheet on the LDOs to regulate to 3 volts. And I need 2 1 UF capacitors. So I've got them here. They will run input, output, right? LDO here, input, output, input, LDO, output, 3 volts, PWM. And I should be okay running the motor directly off the PWM because it should have the correct things to make it work. And then 18650 into input to LDO, output, PWM, motor. No, PWM, switch, motor. Pretty simple. So yeah, I'll try to have that on Thursday. Because I do need it. My arm does not like having to cap these holes. So again, I appreciate you guys stopping by. And see you guys on Thursday.